Coming to you from deep inside the bowels of a great big empty. Get ready for another episode of The Home Defense Show with Skip Coryell.
Okay, folks, welcome back to The Home Defense Show. This is your host, Skip Coryell. Today we are speaking with one of my favorite trainers, Gabe Suarez from Suarez International. Gabe, welcome to The Home Defense Show.
Hey, thanks for having me, Skip.
Oh, Gabe, it's always a fun time when we get to talk, because you're knowledgeable about so many different things, and you're kind of a no nonsense, no holds barred kind of a trainer, which I certainly appreciate. Now, Gabe, you had I've been on your website. I've been looking around at different stuff. I was looking at your holsters. I was looking at your compensators. A lot of, actually, probably the vast majority of students that I run across, just your basic, CPL, vegetarian type shooters, they don't have a compensator. They don't do anything to their gun. They just go ahead and they buy it off the shelf, and that's it. Why should people, modify their gun to upgrade it in any way?
Well, it's very simple. Shooting is both it has to do with your skill, but it also has to do with your equipment. And good equipment is going to make it easier for you to accomplish the mission than basically run-of-the-mill average equipment. And what the compensators do, and we've been playing with this now for about a year, and you know how we are, Skip. We don't just haphazardly throw something out there and suggest it. I mean, we work on this stuff and we test it and we run it hard. And what the compensators do is it reduces one of the things that shooters oftentimes have to wrestle with, and that is the effects of recoil, which are expressed as muzzle flip. It's that upward flipping of the muzzle when you fire. You can't eliminate it any other way. And the compensators will reduce that to the point where it's almost not there.
Well, what I've noticed on the range is that recoil is the enemy of precision. Gosh, I see it all the time. It's like most people, when they're missing, they're shooting low. And it's because of recoil anticipation. And one of the ways to get rid of that is to lessen the amount of recoil that you feel when you're taking your shot.
Right.
But man, it's really hard. I mean, it's like when you're shooting, you just tell them, say, okay, stop anticipating the recoil. Now
yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's really hard. But the compensator just kind of takes it out of the mix. It's not an issue anymore. But
it's kind of like, you get a new shooter and, plus P9 millimeter. There's an inherent built-in aversion to having an explosion at the end of your hand. And having the gun jump in your hand and all that. And the new shooters are always wrestling with that. And you will know that it takes some time for you to mentally and physically get accustomed to that. The difference is, okay, you take a new shooter, you give them a 22, or you give them an airsoft, and it's really easy for them to shoot that because they don't have to wrestle with that recoil. They don't have to wrestle with the effects of muzzle flip. If you shoot an uncompensated 9mm next to a compensated one, there is a tangible difference.
Yeah, I've noticed that, and some of that you can. You can mitigate a little bit by tightening up on your grip, your stance, the way you roll your shoulders forward and all that stuff. But if you can just take it out of the mix with a compensator, that would be awesome. But, Gabe, to be totally honest with you, I don't know exactly how a compensator works. Can you tell us how they work?
There's a couple of factors. One, there's a little bit of added weight to the front of the barrel. It's not long. We experimented with a lot of different, things here, and if you put too much weight on there, it makes the gun unreliable. So there's a point beyond which you're actually giving up reliability. So we designed the compensator where it's well within the specs of any type of ammunition you might want to use. And we also changed the metal. We started off with steel, and we went back to aluminum because aluminum does everything that's necessary. It's not like aluminum foil. It's the same type of aluminum that you find in like an AR receiver, for example.
Yeah.
And then the second thing is it redirects the gases from the cartridge being fired in a direction opposite of where the muzzle wants to travel. So it redirects the gases up and thereby keeps the muzzle down. And in essence, that's what I mean. We can get into a long, drawn-out scientific stuff that I probably would get wrong, but suffice to say that no difference.
Well, yeah, that is interesting. How much length does it add to the overall gun?
We've got a couple of different ones. The best ones are what we call the street comp. So you add that to a Glock 19, and it makes it just under the length of a Glock 34. You add it to a Glock 26, and it makes it just under the length of a Glock 17. So it's well the realm of I can carry this. We've got a guy that works for us, that Paul. He has a compensator on. I think it's a Glock 34, and so this is like a 17 XL, and the thing he shoots it, and the thing just remains flat. It's ridiculous, and he carries it every day. So it's well within the possibility. Glock 19 with a street comp on it, it's like carrying a Glock 34. And then we have another one, a smaller one, the dark alley comp. We have the street comp, and what's smaller than a street is an alley. So that's kind of the story there. And what it is, it's a thread protector that we added a small set of ports to the front. And it reduces that same muzzle flip and recoil, although not as well as the larger street comp. It does a pretty good job, for the guys who want to keep things a little bit more compact, or for pistols like SIGs and things like that we don't quite have a street comp designed for. It's a good alternative, and also for guys that want to be transitioning back and forth from a compensator, and they want to add a sound suppressor and things like that. So, that works pretty good.
Okay, so they're actually attached via a threaded barrel. So you have to have a threaded barrel for the compensator?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
Well, we're speaking with Gabe Suarez from Suarez International. You can check him out at suarezinternational.com. I highly recommend that you do. Now, Gabe, you said they're made out of aluminum, so there's not a whole lot of weight that we're talking about added to the overall gun.
It's not such that it's going to create any possible reliability issues. We use the standard Glock spring. I mean, you can certainly add better springs, but we tested it out. We wanted to work with the standard Glock spring, and we tested it out with as many different types of ammunition as we could find, and it's 100% reliable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, so what are these? Well, actually, first, how much do they cost? And second, if someone wants to get one of these compensators on their gun, how do they go about doing it? Because there's shipping and there's all kinds of stuff, right? I mean, you have to do it for them.
Well, they can buy it and add it themselves. We always recommend, look, if you're one of these guys that you don't have a lot of experience and stuff like that, don't mess up your product, and take it to a gunsmith that knows how to do it. But adding the comps is actually very easy. You have to have a threaded barrel, of course, and there's degrees of barrels on the market now, and we always tell them, look, quality has a price. Don't buy a piece of trash, put my comp on it, and then get upset because the thing doesn't work. Yeah. It's not the comp, trust me. So get a good quality barrel. There's a lot of people that have these that are good quality barrels, and then you basically just you follow the instructions. You screw it on. You tighten down a couple of Allen screws that are not really visible when the gun's assembled, and you're good to go. The dark alley comp is a lot easier. Just screw it on like a thread protector, and you're off and running. The street comps are basically $50. For just regular black. We've got some in MP3 as well, for the guys that have silver colored slides, and those are $10 more, because the finish is a little pricey. And we're making them for the standard Glock 9s, and we're also making them for the 43s and 43Xs and 48s.
Wow. Okay.
So yeah.
Gabe, I know you're a Glock guy. It's a Glock world. Do you have any plans of branching out into any other major gun brands?
I like SIGs. My first semi-auto duty pistol was a SIG 226, and yesterday was 226, so I carried a 226. Right? And guys ask me, hey, can you make this for this? Can you make this for that? But I'm a capitalist, and I got to make money on what we make, and no matter what I like, no matter what a couple of guys here and there like, it is very much a Glock world. And so when I bring out a new product, we always start out with Glocks because I know that those are going to do well. I know that they're going to sell. We may expand into other platforms, but in all honesty, I've made things for SIG pistols. I've made things for CZs. I've made them for even, the Steyr 9mm that was out. I think it's still out a few years ago. And you know what? And these things, they sold very slow. And I'd make one run, and it would take a year for the whole run to go. Whereas I'll make a run of something for Glock, and before my guys have unpacked that box from the finishing house, they're sold.
Yeah.
The dark alley comps, for example, we're on the I think at this point on the 5th production run that we were planning in the 5th production run to release sometime in September, and we're already into that 5th production run. So we're going to probably quadruple the number of dark alley comps we were planning to make this year because they're selling that fast. There's a lot of other pistols that I like. There's a lot of other pistols that I would carry, but business is business.
Yeah, well, that makes sense. I'm a businessman too, and hey, if you don't make any money, you're not feeding your family. So I certainly understand that. How does a compensator compare to, say, just a ported barrel?
Well, so we played around with those too, and you'll remember a few years ago, Glock had a number of models they called the C models. And, whenever something new comes out, I think, well, let's check this out because this might be something interesting. And the ported model, the ported concept, basically what it is you cut a barrel, you cut a hole in the slide, and that does attenuate the muzzle flip a little bit. But the problem is that the powder is not completely burned before it reaches the end of the barrel, and so you tend to have these little fireballs that come up, and they do a number of things. If you're shooting in the dark, they will mess with your night vision a little bit, and if you have to fire the weapon from close contact, again, and the guys don't have to worry about this stuff, but the rest of us might. If you shoot it from a close contact position, you tend to get some of that trash from the barrel, the powder and the gases and stuff up in your face. The comps don't have the same effect, and I've got a video up on my website as well, me shooting a street comp from close contact position. I mean, I didn't hold it right up to my eye or anything like. You're not going to do that, but holding it up close where you would if you were shooting from close contact, and no effects whatsoever, and it's right there on video so that guys can see it for themselves. So, and boarding will reduce the muzzle flip, but there's a price that you have to pay for that.
Yeah.
The comp will reduce muzzle flip without extracting that price from you.
Got it. Pardon my ignorance. I've never had a compensator, so I've got all these questions here. Are there any concerns for cleaning? Because I know I have a ported barrel, and I've experienced the muzzle flash that you're talking about. I don't really like it. And when I'm cleaning, too, it's like, boy, if you go a long time without cleaning those ports out, I mean, there's a lot of carbon buildup in there. Is there any cleaning concerns with a compensator?
you basically leave the comp on the barrel itself. You can disassemble the pistol. You can strip the slide and everything else. You just clean it with the barrel and the slide. But you can clean it, and the ports are large enough that, and the other thing is this: they're large enough, and they've also been the word for it, the radius is reduced or whatever. Dehorned is a term that gunsmiths used to use back in the 80s, where you don't have sharp edges that tend to catch things.
Okay.
So it's really easy to to take a small bore brush or wire cleaner and just go in there and clean out all the little nooks and crannies and things like that. But, again, it's big a deal as guys make it out. What I do with mine is, I take it and I hose out the inside with some sort of bore cleaner and, and I bore brush it and I just kind of let it sit and let it dry off and I wipe it down and it's pretty much good to go.
Yeah. Well, Gabe, we are almost out of time here, but before I let you go, I wanted to talk a little bit about your holsters as well. You've got a bunch of different holsters. I was looking at your, what you call them, NP2, I think that stands for non-permissive holsters.
Right.
Talk about that for a second.
Well, so we've got they're basically a trigger guard holster. It used to be a big thing when we first started doing these, but now everybody and their mother has one, and we just call it a non-permissive environment holster because it's easy to carry a weapon that way in places where you may. I'm trying to speak gently here, where you may incur a degree of scrutiny if you were found out, and we'll leave it at that. And they're pretty successful. We have those, and we're bringing back the gunfighter line of holsters that we call back, and we're bringing them out in a length that is workable with the street comp on a Glock 19. So they're a little bit longer. So in other words, we'll have them available for the 7.4 length. And we're also working on one that will accommodate the new Glock 48.
Okay. I noticed in your videos, you carry appendix, and your holster, it rides high up over the belt line so that you can actually grip it. I mean, I think I would like carrying inside the waistband, but I don't like having to reach down into my pants to get the gun out. It's just too hard to do. How do you make it so yours ride up so high like that?
Well, it's basically the holster design. They're designed to sit a little bit higher, and it's always a compromise to how the holster sits. If you want really, really good concealment, it'll sit low. If you want really, really good access, it'll sit high. But in each case, you'll sacrifice either access or concealment. So what we did is we kind of figured out, so what's the best of both worlds here? Where can we reach a compromise where we're not giving up too much of either? And then we designed the holster so it sat exactly where you need it. And what it is basically it's high enough that you can get your 4 fingers or your 3 fingers of your hand around the grip without too much excessive room. Yeah. And most guys have fingers that are about the same size. So we don't need to have the thing sit 6 inches high. It's just about an inch high off the belt, maybe a little bit less. That way you can get your 3 fingers around there and you can access the pistol. And again, it's based on holster design.
Now, which line of holsters is that? You know the one that I'm talking about. The one that I saw you in the video. I sent you an email about it.
Yeah. Okay, I'm sorry. No, that is our holster. That's our gunfighter holster.
Gunfighter holster.
And again, there's a lot of holsters out there, and I'm not gonna tell you that mine is the best one or anything like that, because there's a lot of good holsters out there. But the thing about ours is they are designed according to my specs to be able to hide the pistol without compromising concealability and conceal it without compromising accessibility too much. And there are holsters that maybe will hide better, but you'll have to take a little bit more time accessing the pistol, T-shirt on over it, and go into town and grab lunch.
Yeah.
So I tried to cover both aspects as well as possible.
All right. Awesome. Okay. Well, Gabe, we're about out of time here. but it's been really good talking to you. Tell everyone again how they can find out about all things Gabe Suarez.
Well, a couple of ways. You can go to our online forum, which is warriortalk.com, or you can visit our website at suarezinternational.com. That's SUAREZ international.com. And, of course, we're on Facebook like everybody else.
Awesome. All right. Hey, Gabe, I appreciate what you do, the products that you make, the training that you offer. It's all awesome stuff. And so, hey, I just want to thank you for being on the Home Defense Show today.
I appreciate it, brother. Thank you very much.
All right. Okay, folks, we got a 2-minute break. While we're away, check out our sponsors, firearmslegal.com, and then also Center Shot Indoor Gun Range. It's Skip Coryell on the Home Defense Show. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back.
Welcome to my dad's Home Defense Radio Show. You're gonna love it.
Thank you for joining us this week on the Home Defense Show. Now, get out there and protect the ones you love. We'll see you next week with more of the best in home defense.
Bye-bye, boys!
Have fun storming the castle!
Skip, it's time for the Armed America Report. Take us there, bro.
All of us here at Frontlines of Freedom want our listeners to get trained and get armed in that order. We fully support the right to keep and bear arms for all law-abiding families, and we encourage you to find out about the laws governing use of deadly force in your state and follow them to the letter. And of course, don't forget to follow the rules of safety and common sense whenever you're carrying a firearm to protect the ones you love. What's the story this week, Colonel?
A man and his mother were working at an Akron, Ohio beauty supply store when 2 alleged armed robbers wearing masks and gloves entered about 7 p.m. on November 15th. Both employees were behind the counter of the glass-fronted store. During the alleged robbery, the son pushed his mother back to protect her, drew his handgun, and fired a few shots at the masked men, fatally wounding one in the head. The dead robber's handgun, found on the floor nearby, was loaded. The other suspect crouched down, crawled out of the store, and fled. The armed robbery was recorded on the store's security cameras. Days earlier, the armed citizen's father suggested he bring a firearm to work after noticing a suspicious man entering the store. The other suspected robber is still at large.
Thanks, Colonel. There's so much to talk about in this scenario, but for the sake of time, I'll limit the discussion to the following 2 points. First, let's talk about headshots. 3 out of 4 headshots result in immediate incapacitation. They are incredibly effective and tend to shut down the central nervous system of your attacker. In most cases, any hit to the brain will cause your attacker to immediately drop to the floor, unable to continue fighting. However, it's important to note that making a headshot while under stress is not an easy thing, even at close range. If you were able to watch the video surveillance from last month's church shooting in White Settlement, Texas, you'll see that Jack Wilson, a church safety volunteer, made a 33-foot headshot on a moving target to end the slaughter. This was an incredible shot and one that most of us cannot do consistently. In most cases, your best bet is the torso shot. However, I highly recommend you also practice making headshots simply because you don't get to choose your gunfight. To the contrary, the gunfight will choose you. In some cases, a headshot is required, and it takes a great deal of skill, composure, and practice to make it happen. So always practice and never be satisfied with your current skill level. Second, days earlier, the armed citizen's father suggested he bring a firearm to work after noticing a suspicious man enter the store. The father's love for his son, coupled with his heightened state of awareness, quite frankly, may have saved his son's life. If he hadn't said anything, his son would have been unarmed and at the mercy of the armed attacker on the day of the gunfight. Always remember, the first rule of gunfighting is bring a gun. But it's important to stress that the gun must also be in the hands of a highly trained defender in order to enhance your chances of success and survival. This young man did a great job, making a difficult shot to stop the fight and protect himself and his mother. Frontlines of Freedom salutes him and encourages all our listeners to carry safe, carry often, and keep on training.
Amen.